facade like a big, giant postcard. And I pulled this is actually an old vintage Victorian era kind of postcard, and I thought this was really cool, but I gave it to Lucas and Chris, and they turned it into this. So this is actually the facade, where you see the big circle. That's a video element. We're doing the clock as a video element that changes. So this is Old Lang Syne, as remixed by Figure, and you're seeing the clock do the countdown: 10, 9, 8, and when it gets to midnight, everything goes evil and the clock changes. And there's a lot of different characters and for all of these. So Fallen Angels is, well, it's hard to describe. I'm just going to show it to you. It's these skeletal guys that are bejeweled. There's all these jewels all over them. So they're like these ornamented skulls, and they all have these kind of like, almost like biker jacket, angel wings embroidered on the back of their costume. But each one of them is different, and I'm only showing you a couple of them. There's a whole bunch of these guys. Of course, they're all armed with chainsaws. And just to give you an example of the amount of work that has to go into what our makeup artists are doing right now, is like, after you sculpt the skull and you make the skull, they have to, apply all of these jewels to every one of them. I just brought one. Wow. That's just one, and there's a whole bunch of them. So it's just a kind of a totally different look than anything we've done before. Probably the zone, one of the ones I'm most excited for, is called Spirits and Demons of the East. We've talked about this for years, and a lot of times people on Twitter, make suggestions, and they say like, you should do something with Asian myths or ghosts or demons. And we've thought about it, we've just never done it before. So this year we decided this is going to be the year we actually do this, because there's a wealth of amazing characters, incredible creatures and designs, and we wanted to bring all that to life. So this is kind of the big hub part of the upper deck of the theme park. We call it our New York set area. It's right in front of Universal Plaza. And I'll just show you some of the character designs. These are very costume heavy. So, we have all these costume designers that have to build every single costume that we think of. And they have to, go by the art and figure out the pattern and figure out, how they're going to make it. This is just our Chinese and Mongolian ghost characters. I thought it'd be interesting just to show you, this is like the costumes in progress. So this is the different costumes they're making for this zone. I love this guy, the Samurai Demon. So this is what his makeup sculpt looks like. Wow. So all of this is really heavily stylized. It's all trying to be authentic to the look of these characters. Another one I like very much is the Dragon Demon character. So then we gave this to Pat McGee and his talented team of makeup artists, and then, one night at midnight or something, my phone lights up and I get this. So these are pretty amazing. They're all kind of like works of art. Here's another thing we've always wanted to do. Always wanted to do this. We've been talking about this for years. We have a lot of stilt walkers that work on our event, and they're, I love stilt walkers. If you put me on those things, I would be dead in 5 minutes. There's no way I could do what they do. They do pirouettes in the street, they jump, and every year I just keep adding more and more, because I just love it. And then Holidays in Hell actually ends in a scare zone. It's in the upper deck of our theme park. It's a part of our lot we call French Street. And did you guys go to Universal Monsters last year? Yeah. So, we had that scare zone that was Monster Masquerade that ended the maze, and I just loved the fact that the maze went right into the scare zone. So we created a new scare zone this year that's called Christmas in Hell, and the maze ends with Christmas. Christmas is the last thing that you see in the maze, and then it bleeds over into the scare zone. So the whole scare zone is Christmas themed. That meant that we got to invent new characters like Satan Claus. I didn't realize this, if you just rearrange the letters Santa, it spells Satan. So this is Satan Claus. So then again, we give it to Pat McGee and his team, and that's what you get back. So the Christmas part of the maze is actually like a Christmas tree lawn. It just happens to be Satan Claus's Christmas tree lawn, and we kind of themed the whole exit of the maze so it kind of blends organically into French Street, and then it picks up. It allows us to bring back some characters that we've done in the past from like Dark Christmas. Do you guys remember Dark Christmas? Yeah, a scare zone we did years ago. It was the first Christmas themed scare zone we did. So some of those evil elf characters, Jack Frost, which is a character, although he's getting a whole new look this year. Mrs. Claus, which we had in Holidays in Hell last year. But also, at the very end of the scare zone, we run into Baby New Year 1929. And this is what he looks like. And this is his sculpt in process. And I mentioned, I love stilt walkers. So I wanted to do a nutcracker. I just thought that would be so cool, Just a big, evil nutcracker with big giant teeth. So this is the sculpt. Oh, sorry. Here's his costume. So again, the costume department, Lucas does a drawing, gives a rendering, and then we give that to our costume department, and then they have to build everything, and that's just the costuming process, and then this is the sculpt. Should be fun. I think we should just leave them in the park for Christmas after Halloween. We actually did that. Do you remember? We actually did that one, like, way back, I know I've been there like way too long, but it might have been like 2006 or right when we were kind of bringing Horror Nights back. We actually did like a scary Christmas zone during regular Christmas. We only did it once, and never did it again after that. But it was kind of cool.
Bring it back.
Wow. So there you've heard it. So I guess you guys, you can write letters. We're doing Toxic Tunnel with 3 X's this time. It's new because it has 3 X's. Not 2 like last year, it's got 3 this time. And people always ask me things like, why are you doing Toxic Tunnel again? I'm like, well, you guys are walking to the back lot, and you're walking through a tunnel. And it's a tunnel. I can't change it. It's a tunnel. What that actually is, that's back of house movie studio. That's part of the big technical building in the shop where they build all of where they maintain and build the sets for movies and TV shows. That's what you guys are actually walking through, that big tunnel. So this year we decided to go a little bit of a different direction with the characters. They've been different things down through the years, but I really like the design aesthetic of kind of the hot rod monsters. Kind of Big Daddy Ed Roth, that type of thing. They're kind of like, monster mechanics, if you will. So this is just Frankie and Drac, but it's all done in that kind of crazy, crazy cartoon, hot rod, aesthetic, and that's kind of the way we're approaching Toxic Tunnel. And then last but not least, we always have a big scare zone, and every year it kind of gets bigger and bigger down in the Metro set area, which is the backlot part of the movie studio, where we build usually 3 mazes. Okay. When I'm jet lagged, I always have to check myself. What mazes have we announced? Let's make sure I don't screw this up. That's where Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman is going to be out there. That's where Ghostbusters, you heard about that, I assume? Ghostbusters? That's what Ghostbusters could be. And by the way, it's good, I can actually tell you all 3. That's where Creepshow is going to be. So Creepshow is on the opposite side of that giant wall that last year would have been like the Horrors of Blumhouse, or a couple of years before that, American Horror Story. That's where Creepshow is going to be. But there, the first thing that happens when you walk across the street and after you've gone through Toxic Tunnel is you get to the Metro Set area, and we always started with a scare zone. Last year it was Holidays in Hell, and this year we created a scare zone that is now called All Hallows Evil. I say now called because a guy who works really closely with me and Chris, and has for years and years and years on Horror Nights, And his specialty is always park decor and the scare zones. He's the guy who actually deserves all of the credit for the scare zones. His name is Pat Quinn. He's probably here somewhere tonight. I don't know if he wants to stand up or not. I can embarrass him. Pat, are you in the audience? Patty! There he is. Somebody point to Pat. All right, there he is. There he is. Give it up for Pat Quinn. Chris and I have known Pat, for years and years and years, and Pat just thinks differently than Chris and I, his brain works in ways I can't describe, but in really good ways. But he always has really cool ideas for scare zones and characters and things we wouldn't normally have thought of. He's the one who brought, the idea of doing spirits and demons of the Far East. That was Pat's idea. All of these scare zones are his idea. And then he comes and he pitches them to Chris and I. And the vast majority of the time we just go, that's great, let's do it. So he pitched me a scare zone that he originally titled Samhain Festival of Darkness. But I'm Irish now. That's not how you pronounce that word. I don't know if you know, Halloween actually originated in Ireland, and it was a harvest festival that Americans call Samhain. And I'm going to mess this up entirely, and every person in Ireland's going to beat me up the minute I got off the plane Monday morning when I fly tomorrow night. But I think it's pronounced Samhain. Samhain, right? Samhain. So I just couldn't do a scare zone called Samhain Festival of Darkness. Festival of Darkness. So we changed the name to All Hallows Evil, but the idea that Pat came up with is the same. It's to pay homage to all of that great pagan, original Halloween, pagan festival, harvest festival. I'll show you a few characters. The pagan witch, and the druid. And we're weaving in different things. It's not exclusively Irish, it's kind of all of that kind of early mythological stuff. Wendigo Scarecrow, I call him Murder of Crows. And then this is one Pat really had to sell us on. He's like, I want to do a Green Man, and we were like, what? But when they drew it up, when he and working with Lucas drew it up, we were like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I just got this last night and banged it into this deck so I could share it with you. So this is the sculpt in process for the Green Man. And he gets these big, huge horns on his head. And then last but not least, again, stilt walkers. I love stilt walkers. Pat designed a really cool Wendigo stilt walking character. It's like 8 foot tall. And that's the sculpted process. And that's his incredibly large horns on the top of his head. All right.